Hello. Okay. So, today I'm going to be talking about aesthetics because I asked for a random topic and Josh suggested aesthetics. So, we're going to talk about aesthetics. So, as you can already see, I am not picky when it comes to aesthetics. Um, there are things I like, and there are things that I think are really like pretty and beautiful. But um, generally speaking, I think I'm not like super picky about it, and I like to take um, I don't know. I guess things that look good is more important to me than removal of things that don't look good. So I guess I'm like a maximalist. So let me just think about things that I can say about aesthetics. Um, Clearly, like I didn't set up this video to have a completely aesthetic atmosphere because I value just making the video over making it pretty. I don't really have a reason to have it look pretty. Um, there's like laundry bins here, and I have shirts here, which actually can bring me into another point on aesthetics. So I have. I'll just take this guy off the rack. I've got like this is probably my favorite shirt, and as you can see, it's just crabs. Um, it's kind of eye catching and a bit unique, and I like to wear this shirt often, and I wear it to work and stuff, and I think it's a nice shirt, and yeah, people sometimes comment on it. They like it. They think it looks good or it's interesting. I also have a very similar shirt. It's the same concept but with fish, and I got them from the same spot, really. Koi fish. Let's see. I also have this like pink floral shirt. That's cool. All right, now that's just gonna hang there, I guess. It might fall to the ground now. And I have like this robe. It's not silk. It's like polyester, but it feels silky-ish. And this is a very kind of intricate pattern with a lot of colors, and shiny colors, and so that's the kind of aesthetics I like. I like kind of. I'm really not into like it's like the opposite of grayish, right? I also like this monster again. It's pretty aesthetic. I've definitely seen more aesthetic things in my life, but it really ain't bad. Um, this guy is aesthetic. I like him. His name is Hudson. Because there's a story there, and I guess I'll tell it because I have nothing better to do. My wife and I were in Hudson, New York, which is 2 hours out or something, not even from New York City. And we stayed at a hotel called the Whaler, and they had a history of like whaling in Hudson and stuff, and it's at the Hudson River, of course. And then and then shortly after we went to the Netherlands, where we live now, and I found this dude at a store, and I saw him, and I was just like, I want it. Ah. Okay, so now I have that. And then I got an hourglass, and I decided that it would be this. Not only did this sand have the best color in my opinion, but it also I knew it would be going on my desk, and I knew that Hudson's also on my desk, and I could put them together, and they could be matching. Um, that's also aesthetically pleasing. Okay. Um, Forests, mountains, rivers, oceans, whatever. It's all great. Humans, animals. Aesthetics. What more can I say about aesthetics? Yeah, I like colors. I'm going to look up the definition of aesthetics because I need some more things to talk about. Yeah, aesthetics I would say that they're just not really like that big of a deal for me. I think aesthetics can be fun or pretty, but I think also they're certainly not like the be all end all for me. And again, I think I'm more drawn towards things that sparkle and pop and whatever, rather than driven away from things that I would deem like imperfect. I also have like a ring, and it's like gold and with like a fake ruby stone, and it's a little bit big, and it's like my wedding ring, so it's normally just a band, but I like flashy things. I like so alright, so the first definition of aesthetics is the branch of philosophy that deals with nature, expression, and perception of beauty as in the fine arts. Okay. Number 2 is the study of the psychological responses to beauty and artistic expressions. 3 is a conception of what is artistically valid or beautiful. Okay, so these are all basically pointing to the same thing. Now, how is it that we find something aesthetically pleasing or beautiful? Because they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's also not 100%, because a lot of people will find the same things to be aesthetically pleasing, and then some other people will dislike it. I don't think anyone really sees like... Okay, and then I guess there's also kind of the idea that people are indifferent. So if I see a beautiful nature scene and it's got like a river and some trees and mountains in the background, I go to Switzerland basically, and I'm like, wow, beautiful. I think somebody who doesn't have an appreciation for those things isn't gonna say, no, it's ugly, but they are gonna say, not my thing. But I guess it's nice. Why do I find Switzerland to be so aesthetically pleasing? I don't know. I don't know what the root of what we find aesthetically pleasing is, actually. And there seems to be something that overrides just beyond like what's what we grew up with or something like that. Yeah, actually it's kind of an interesting little can of worms that I'd never really thought about. Why do we find pleasing and appealing the things that we do find pleasing and appealing? I couldn't tell you. So I mean, like, obviously, I think I could tell you something like, things that are aesthetically pleasing are things that are evolutionarily advantageous. So we like people who are fit, they're aesthetically pleasing, and we like people who are organized. That's also aesthetically pleasing most of the time. We also we like fruits and trees, and well, trees we don't eat or do anything with, but the animals that we have better relationships with, we tend to find cute. And then there are animals that we have poorer relationships that we don't find aesthetically pleasing. I mean, I guess some snakes are pretty, but things like vultures and hyenas especially, I think they're kind of universally regarded as like ugly and definitely not aesthetically pleasing. um so maybe there's an answer there, but I don't really like appealing to um evolution or kind of scientific explanations, because it just kind of further begs the question, in my mind. So it's like, okay, well, but why is it those things? And like, why are those things, evolutionary, narrowly advantageous to us, or why, um, or is there something that is just, or is there some kind of inherent beauty in it that has nothing to do with how we like evolved and shit? Um, I don't know though. I think that that's like something I think I'd have to think about a bit more. Um, Aesthetics. Yeah. Let's see. Do I have preferred aesthetics? Yeah, I mean, I guess I already said kind of like maximalism. I know there's like a bunch of weird aesthetic palettes these days, like minimalist and maximalist and dark academia and whatever kind of chic. I don't know. I'm not. I'm no interior designer, and I'm no fashion mogul or whatever. I'm just a dude who thinks about things. Alright, I'm gonna go to the Wikipedia page for aesthetics, and maybe we'll find something there. Aesthetics examines values about and critical judgments of artistic taste and preference. It thus studies how artists imagine, create, and perform works of art, as well as how people use, enjoy, and criticize art. Aesthetics considers why people consider certain things beautiful and not others, as well as how objects of beauty in art can affect our moods and beliefs. Yeah. Interesting. So, does the study of aesthetics actually go beyond, because it talks about art, and it's like, is a good book a work of art, or is it a work of literature? Is literature not art? Are we talking about visual art? Are we talking about, because I do think like in a broader sense, aesthetics kind of can talk about like a sense of beauty, or a sense of appreciation or taste, and it's not necessarily to do with visuals. Um, I think, and I do think that's kind of more interesting, and probably where aesthetics does lead to, if I had to guess. And I think we can kind of hear it, like in language. I think aesthetic is kind of, vibe is kind of becoming a bit synonymous with aesthetic. But I'm just talking on my ass here. I have no idea what the definitions are. Um, yeah. Yeah, okay. It considers what happens in our minds when we view visual art, listen to music, read poetry, enjoy delicious food, and engage in large artistic projects, like creating and experiencing plays, fashion shows, films, and television programs. Well, okay, so I mean, if I were to break these down one by one, and like I don't, hmm, okay, so I've never really thought about aesthetics philosophically. Um, so this is actually a kind of interesting opportunity to do that. Um, so I'm just kind of trying to get a lay of the land, and think about where this larger thing stems from. So I'm just going to go through my kind of process. Television programs, films, shows. No, television programs and films and plays. I think those are largely about stories, dramas, and um, and I think every story essentially is like we put ourselves in the position of the main character, or maybe another character, and we kind of act it out in a way, or other people act it out, and we experience that. Um, and they kind of show us what to do in life, if a certain situation arises, or yeah, something unexpected happens, and you learn how to deal with it, and um, what the virtuous response is and the non-virtuous response, what the good response is, the bad response, the profitable, the non-profitable, whatever. Um, so that's what I think about stories. And fashion shows. Um, is that a story? No, that's more like, could we consider the wearing of clothes and, well, like all the things that are purely aesthetic in the sense of like for our eyes, are those also story based, or are they not? I don't think so. Let's see. Delicious food, reading poetry, listening to music. Yeah, what does listening to music even do? That's just like, I couldn't tell you why music evokes our emotional sensitivities so much. I don't know. Um, Especially, I don't know, like, I just think of classical music as probably a lot of what they're studying here. Why is it that playing certain notes in a certain way is like making us have an emotional response? Um, I guess it is in a way, it's telling a story. So maybe music is really a story, but it's not always either, because like if you just have a beat and it's just like, you're just listening to the beat, like that has nothing to do um, with a story. That's just more in the land of like fun and play and shit like that. um, so yeah, reading poetry, that is even more different, because I think what poetry does is it's kind of, how do I say, it's like, it's not a story, it's not something that you just look at, it's something that you read, and then it evokes a sense of something, awe, wonder, or understanding. And that is also kind of a different, like, it's not just a story, it's not just a narrative. It's a very short story, I guess, and I guess it paints a picture, right? Like, a picture says 1,000 words. I guess a picture is kind of a story too. What is it? I guess it's all kind of like information that we receive, and it tells us something. What is it that whenever we get this information, we respond to it positively or negatively? Why? So what I'm trying to do here basically is I'm looking for the common ground. Like it says aesthetics encompasses all of these things, and so I'm like, okay, well then what is like the root of aesthetics, right? Because I see these things as kind of separate. Why am I seeing them as separate? Because they can clearly be related in some way, maybe in the most fundamental way, even, that is possible. And how exactly are they related such that they all fall under the roof of aesthetics? Um, and so I guess, yeah, it's something, but okay, so an emotional response to watching your family getting murdered right in front of you is not under aesthetics, though. Even though it's like something you're observing that's having eliciting an emotional response, it's not aesthetics because um, it's not really like art. It's not. What is art? Damn. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me on my first endeavor into the world of aesthetics. I might continue to dabble here. I don't know. We'll see where that leads. I do have some open questions now, but the video is long enough now for getting it out of my system. I like making videos, and yeah, I just every now and then I'm like, I want to make a video. Kind of like a painter needs to paint, or a musician needs to make music. I need to make videos every now and then. Yeah. All right. Peace.